Space has long been seen as the final frontier, but it is also a field where diversity and inclusion are still evolving. In August 2022, Egyptian Lebanese engineer Sara Sabry became the first Arab and African astronaut when she took a flight on board Blue Origin NS-22 spacecraft. A source of inspiration to many, Sara spoke about her extraordinary journey and the challenges women face in the industry with TRT World at the Web Summit Qatar in Doha.
So my interest in space didn't start when I was young, just because I grew up in Egypt and Saudi Arabia first before moving to Egypt when I was 7. And it wasn't something that was around us at all. It was not on TV, there were no books around us, we didn't really talk about it or learn about it in school. So it wasn't something that was around me at all. So it was only after I finished my master and I was working in the industry and I started getting a little bit more exposed to it because of a lot of the research that I was doing and going through some sort of existential crisis. So I had a lot of questions about everything and realized that we were so far behind in having the answers to these questions. And that's kind of what led me to the space field. I was so convinced that humanity needed to become multiplanetary, and I thought maybe I could do something about it. And it just turned out that, when I started getting more exposed to the field, that they needed people with my background, and it just, worked out for the best. Yes, 100%. I do completely agree with that, and I have also studied, and because there's a lot of research on analog missions, which is, you do these missions to simulate a mission to Mars or to the moon on Earth, and they've been doing a lot of studies on women being commanders and how that affects the team dynamics, the success of the mission, like if the mission objectives have been achieved and all of that. And they've really proved, that women commanders actually do a better job for the whole success of the mission. So when I went to space, I think it was 2.5 or almost 3 years ago. I think it was 2.5 years ago. We were less than 75, I believe. And actually, I think as of a couple of months ago, we've surpassed 100 women in space. And the 100th woman to go to space is a good friend of mine. But I think women are, better suitable to become leaders and lead crews just because of the capability to understand what the team needs. And as a leader and as a commander, you have to be able to understand what the team needs and how to really be able to, make sure that everything goes as planned without really being attached to something specific. A lot of, huge misconception that, women are emotional or whatever, or like all of that, but that's actually really not true. And we can see that from the leadership and the positions that women have had. For instance, spacesuits. Like, we understand that it's a technology, we're able to work on it, but as an international student, for instance, I've heard stories of students in the US not being able to experiment or test their own spacesuits at NASA and have to send someone else in their place when it's their own designs. So for my PhD right now, I'm working on spacesuits. I'm not at the stage where I'm testing it yet. But if the day comes where I need to test my spacesuit in, let's say, at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab at NASA or something, then I would have to send someone else to test my own design. It doesn't really make sense, right? Like if you're the person who designed it, you should be able to at least continue the work on it, right? We're not able to, have kind of like an organization that we're a part of unless you're part of a university or doing your PhD or in academia. You're not part of an institution. So I started speaking to so many different people that were going through the same thing. I realized I'm probably not alone in this. I'm probably not the only one who's not able to apply to these jobs just because of my passport. So I think there's a lot of things that don't really make sense anymore, and I think it needs to happen on the policy level, on just the understanding of what the laws are, what these implications are, how they're harmful for both sides. So I think what needs to happen is more on the policy level, on kind of coming up with different ways to really update the laws that have been put in place since the Cold War. So for instance, I think not a lot of people know this, but there's a lot of laws and restrictions that put space tech and anything related to space under like munition lists. And it was put there because of the Cold War when the US was in a competition with the Soviet Union. And when that broke apart, like everything, they've collaborated, they've worked together, and now there's another competition with China and all of that, which is, we're not even gonna go into that, but they need to be updated because well, all the sides have this technology. So it's not like it's something that's hidden that it's like, oh my God, like we can't really do that anymore. So it needs more updating. And I think once that gets updated, we'll see a huge change and a huge, much better international collaboration, a lot less, nationalism that comes with this. I understand that every country cares about its nationalism, cares about, being better than the other, but that doesn't, we need to kind of move past that a little bit. We're in 2025.
As we look to the future, inspirational individuals like Sara Sabry are proving that space belongs to everyone. From expanding opportunities for women in space and pioneering tech-driven exploration to bridge the gap between space and Earth, her work is helping shape the next era of human space missions.